Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
All right, this is a review on Graham versus Graham regarding the prior orders of the court. Has the order been entered from reflecting the prior order? Okay. The last time we were here, we had ordered that there be, I think both sides be submit to drug tests. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And my understanding is that from what I've seen, and I don't have it right in front of me, but that well, I have the drug testing for Mrs. Graham, and all of that was negative, if I understand correctly. And then I have the drug testing for Mr. Graham, which was collected on November the 3rd and showed it was positive for cannabinoid, whatever, basically, and positive for THC. So he had a positive drug test on the collection date of November the 3rd. Then I show another test on November the 17th, and that showed negative across from what I'm looking at, all of the possible metabolites and all of the possible drugs that might have been tested. So on November, may I see the docket sheet, please?
That's the one that I wrote in notes on that I think it's in the office. Do you want those orders that you had?
I want to see the orders that were prepared before we go further. But under the prior order of the court, according to this, what I'm looking at, after the order requiring them to submit to a drug test, and that order was entered on the 31st day of October. So they were both within 48 hours of the court hearing were to submit to a nail, it says a nail follicle, but I think it's a nail bed test, but in any event. Then after that, it was giving the father to have supervised visitation with the current supervisors from Tuesday at 4 to 7, and then Saturday 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we had set the review allowing you to participate by Zoom at 1:30 on November the 30th. I don't think we got to it on that day, but all right. Either side wish to be heard. This is a review after having ordered the drug test results. You want to be heard on that?
You did. I made remember Mr. Graham testified that he didn't use cannabis, he would pass it, he welcomed the drug test, and it turns out that he did fail, that they were high levels. The other was a hair follicle drug test that he took after that and not what the court had ordered. So that was concerning. The court has laid out some groundwork for these parties and gave them, quite a discussion last time that we were in court and got all of the evidence resolved, and Your Honor was given the ruling. We did set it for review on that other day, and I was here by Zoom. There was recordings, and Ms. Smith was involved. She testified they were disturbing to her as well, and you were wanting to maybe have those heard in court rather than hear them on Zoom on that day, so it got reset for today. I would have, if the court's inclined, the supervision at the church, if the court remember they were going to a church, the supervisors or her mother and the pastor basically of the church, they have some concerns, and she's here to testify about vaping in church and doing some things of that nature while having a visitation. Mr. Graham was vaping in church. I have audio recordings that Ms. Graham could verify. They were done, I believe, on around May the 8th of December. And they're quite disturbing. To me, she's threatening her existence. I mean, I think that's the way Ms. Smith kindly took it. I would like to play you those, and just my thought with these recordings. After the court gave the discussion that you gave with these parties, we still have this situation. And lastly, the psychological assessment with Dr. Berryman, she is going to do both, is doing both. I know my client's been once and is going again tomorrow. So my understanding is it's kind of the way Dr. Berryman set it up. Coming in stages, she wants to see the child, the interactions with the child and the parties and everything. So it sounds like we're going to get some pretty good reports from her as well. With the court's indulgence, I'll play this video.
I'm gonna hear from the other lawyers. If you're gonna wear a mask, wear it while you're talking to the court as well. So.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Hendrickson?
Your Honor, I think when we were last here, I did brought up to your attention that the recording that is going to be played is just taken out of context. The parties, after we concluded the 2.5-day temporary hearing, they started communicating, and they would talk for hours. And at some point, there were talks about possibly slowly reconciliating, but that fell apart. And during the testimony there, it was clearly shown that my client exaggerates, and even wife admitted to that. And this is going to be another of those recordings where wife would say something to the father to the effect that she will be replacing him as a father. And of course, that will set off some words there. But we will not hear that recording of when she said those things to my client. We will only hear the recording of my client, and that's where we're at with that. My client has seen Dr. Berryman. He is going tomorrow again. As far as the drug test is concerned, even though my client volunteered to have the drug test and say that he will pass it, he did say that his last use was May of this year. So the slightly positive result, which is very negligible on that nail bed test, that was to be expected. But then he went ahead and subjected himself to a hair follicle test about 2 weeks later, and as you mentioned, that was negative. The visits are going well. I have not heard of any vaping incidents, so I'm, have yet to hear about that. He's in compliance with your order about not bringing any weapons of some sort. He's been seeing his therapist, Miss Weismark, and he will continue to do that to help him with communication. At this point, Your Honor, my client concedes that there are grounds for divorce in this case. We have alleged inappropriate marital conduct. I believe Mr. Reese did too. If the parties will agree, my client requests that they be declared divorced today. He believes that that will help alleviate a little bit of the communication about whether do we stay married or
Give
not.
them what they want. That way they can really fight it over the things that they still want, right?
That's our intention, is just to limit communication about the custody, and maybe there's some property there that needs to be.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is because one of our former judges that I used to practice in front of, he said, well, I'm not going to grant them a divorce by agreement. That gives them what they want. Then they'll just spend all their time fighting over stuff instead of trying to settle it. If they want the divorce, they might try to settle it. So that was his logic anyway. I'm not saying I agree with that, but the other option is that if I hear the case and they're both at fault, then I can dismiss it, leave them married.
Not sure about that, George.
I am sure about that. I'm sure that's within my power.
But-
I'm not sure that that would be a good thing because it basically is a remedy that's very infrequently used.
And so, Your Honor, with that request, my client would still request that the previous order where they are not supposed to expose the child to any third party while the litigation is ongoing. He would request that to continue. If you
Why do you think granting him a divorce today would make a difference?
Your Honor, so the parties, they would have these phone calls. My client thinks that he still has a chance to reconcile. And then so they would get into these conversations, and then it doesn't work out. And it centers around the marriage, salvaging the marriage. And my client believes that if they be declared divorced, even if you grant it for the wife, he would be okay with that. That would give him closure of some sort. I'm not saying that that would solve all the problems, but they would be limited to just communication via text, no more phone calls. Proof will show that wife initiates a lot of these phone calls, not just my client. Both of them are calling each other back and forth outside of the FaceTime that my client is allowed to have with a minor child. And so we're trying to just stop that cycle of both parties communicating between each other and hopefully stop that unhealthy conversations. And my client is still working with the therapist. And so that's where he's at, Your Honor. We believe that he should be permitted to have unsupervised visitation at this point. There's no allegations of any unhealthy or unsafety conduct towards the child. Whenever mother left the home in May, from May to September, he did not see this child, even by phone call. When I stepped in, the only thing that mother would allow is a supervised visitation, and my client agreed to that. And so father was denied of seeing his child, talking to his child for about 4 or 5 months since May. And so when a mother tells you that I'm going to replace you as a father, I mean, you can only imagine how my client would feel about that. And so hence this recording that will be played. And so that's where we're at, Your Honor.
Let me hear from the guardian ad litem.
I think you need to listen to this recording. It was kind of disturbing. It certainly presents Mr. Gardner as a angry and perhaps violent man, and I think you need to hear it. Not only did that happen, there was another recording from just a few days ago, even after he knew that it had been recorded the first time. I think you need to hear them.
All right, Mr. Holly, if you want to put your client on the stand and let us authenticate your recordings, and then I'll allow you to play them.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Gramman, if you'll come forward, please, and ask you, if you will, to raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth.
You may question her regarding the recordings.
Yes, sir. So, you're Miss Gramman, correct?
Yes,
And you have sent to me a couple of recordings.
yes.
Okay. So describe to the court how you came about getting this last recording that you sent to me. How did it come about that you and he were having even a conversation
well, we have to do FaceTime videos with Pearson. That is what was ordered by you the last time that we were here. Well, not the last time, but the time before. So during the FaceTime calls, he just starts starts talking to me, and I try to avoid it, but he starts asking questions about Pearson, and he just leads his way and into just talking. He knows how to manipulate me and how to push my buttons and just get me to talk.
All right. And this recording that you sent to me that was done a few days ago, I'll play that one first. You heard Ms. Smith testify, even after he knew it was being recorded, that last time, he still made this recording with you, correct?
Yes.
All right. Judge, I'm ready to move.
All right, now, which, is this the most recent recording that I'm about to hear?
I was going to play the most recent one and then maybe do the other one if the court
All right.
wants to hear some more. This to me is again, as Ms. Smith said, he knows he's being recorded throughout this process. Whoops.
Tony outlined a worked out plan. You had to go and record me and send it to Maurice out of context. Why do you make my life so horrible when I've made so many changes? You haven't made any changes. I certainly have. And the newest change is a deep-found hatred towards you. That's always been there. Don't tell you, I loved you more than I loved myself. I always have loved you more than I loved myself. No. And now I yeah, I don't really care. Why did you do that? Why? Because you're threatening to kill me. You're threatening to control my life for the rest of my life. I never threatened to kill you. Okay. I told you that I would have a spouse in Pearson's life. I don't care how you just keep rewording it. Don't say what you want to say. I honestly have nothing to say. When you sent that to Reese, did you think things were completely over? Yeah. Yeah. You thought things were completely over. No chance to salvage. Things have been completely over for a while, but hold on. In those 3 weeks, was there a chance of salvage? Chaos. What I told you was time will tell. And I wanted to believe that. I really did. But time is told, and honestly, it didn't take all that long. Well, I'm going to get Pearson, whether you agree with it or not. That's what's going to happen. I'm trying to prove myself to you. I want to prove myself to everybody else. I want to prove to everybody else that you're not this woman that you're trying to paint your picture of it. That you're not a great mother. That you're not a good spouse. That you're not a good person. Okay.
I didn't want it to be this way. I didn't want to rip each other apart, but you made it happen. All you care about is making me seem like a bad guy. Oh God. Bad husband? Yeah, absolutely. Bad husband. Never a bad father.
You weren't a father at all.
Yeah, well, the only person who accused him was you.
I don't abuse him.
You did.
I have
This is
never
what
abused him.
we have found out. And you still put him in dangerous fucking situations like that fucking
I
car
do.
case.
That's so dangerous.
It is. If I put him in a fucking box like that, he would in the fucking world.
I don't put him in a box. I don't
If I
care what
put
you
him
say,
in a
Brian.
fucking box like that in the world, because you're the man, it's okay.
I'm not putting him in a box. He's climbing into my guitar case. And
And I'm
gently,
going to fucking move the case and not let him do it.
I do. And then he'll see it. And it is funny. It's funny that he put it in there.
Fucking
I'll put it in the basement for you, Brian. I will. I'll do it tonight.
you want to be preaching or something. God's if you say that God this or God that. Well, guess what? I'm smoking with that. I've run you down on using my fucking eyes out about this situation more times than I care to even say. And you know how hard it is to cry for me.
You can cry when you feel pity for yourself, Brian.
Oh, I feel pity for Pearson and
Yeah,
myself.
okay.
Because you're a horrible woman. You're going to be a father. And it's going to consume you. When me and Pearson have no base in life, it has nothing to do with it. I know it. So I'm going to ask you about this point blank period. Are you willing to stay without a man until he's an adult?
Brian, I'm not gonna.
Person to person with you. And if not, I guarantee you as soon as we're divorced, I will go find your wife.
Yeah, go ahead and. God, I feel really sorry for the next girl you're with, but I mean.
So you're going to try to bring a man into my son's life.
It's not in my plans, but I can't control that.
Plans. I'm asking you to make a person deal with me.
I'm not making a deal with you.
Woman into his life.
I ain't making a deal with you. I ain't making a deal with you. That's just crazy. You're not in control because you're not in control of my life.
I'm way more control than you could ever imagine.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I understand that.
So what I'm asking you is to do the right thing and not bring a man into his life. And in return, I will not bring a woman into his life. I'm okay with not having any more children and not being married to anybody during at least the next 16 years. So
I'm not agreeing to anything. You're not gonna take my life away from me.
watch me.
You've already taken years away from me, and I'm gonna have to work through things.
Don't you want to raise Pearson as his mother and not have him call somebody else mom?
I mean, that's his choice if he wants to call someone else mom too. There's nothing I can do about it.
You're a human being. Instead of just doing the logical thing and saying, you know what, that would hurt me. It's there, okay? If you can't.
I think it bothers you that it doesn't hurt me.
Huh?
I said, I think it bothers you that it doesn't hurt me. I think you want it. I think you want it to
Do you
hurt me.
really care about him if it doesn't hurt you?
I care about him more than I care about myself.
So do I trust him.
Yeah, okay.
who I do not care about anymore.
That's great.
And you made it apparent you didn't care about me first.
Mhm.
What caused all this? All of this. Wasn't you leaving. Wasn't you cleaning out the house. It was you telling me I couldn't see it for Father's Day. That's what caused every last bit of this.
Yeah, sure.
And you still didn't let anything for Father's Day. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, that's
Isn't
right.
that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Did I see it for Father's Day?
No, you didn't. Because we didn't have a parenting plan by then, I don't think. No, we didn't. We didn't have a legal plan in place yet.
We didn't need a legal plan in place.
Yeah, we did.
Right thing.
The right thing.
You're a foreigner. You deserve to suffer for the waste of your life over this.
Yeah, right.
You have caused me to order of my son's life so far that I have hurt anyone. Because of your own anger and emotions. And all I ever asked for was to be a dad.
You weren't a freaking dad, man. You're a single dude.
Liar. You're a piece of shit liar is what you are. I provided for you once, whether you agreed or not with the way I provided for you.
You provided for
And I
yourself.
continue to provide for you.
No, you don't.
Oh, yeah, I do. I give you money every fucking month.
You haven't given me money in quite a while now.
3 weeks.
But
3 weeks.
I mean, that's up to you.
Because I gave you how much last time?
$300, I think.
Okay. Which was what, $100 a week? Hey, you got maybe $100 to drop.
I just don't care.
You do care. You do. Because if you didn't care, it wouldn't be right. All I want is to be a father, and you can't allow that.
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, that's all of that. There's another about 40, 45 seconds I could keep. You could keep listening to that. And there's no more discussion about it. Yeah. What? That was it. And that was a fair and accurate depiction of a conversation you have with Mr. Brandon. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And then the other one that Ms. Smith was talking about. I'm going to play this one, and again at the end, I'll ask you if this is a fair and accurate depiction of what you and he talked about.
Hello. Hello. I'm tired of back and forth. I can't physically do it anymore. Either we can be friends and we can be in Pearson's life together, or we can't. Either way, I'm going to be in his life. Yeah, I know. Duh. I'm not willing to watch to move on with anybody else, bring anybody else into my son's life.
I'm going to increase the volume on that.
I mean, what would you do about it? Like, I deserve to be happy if we don't work out. You've known from the beginning. I mean, you always said if you ever thought I was cheating, that you would kill me. I mean, that's crazy. Why would you kill me? And I've never cheated. I've never wanted to. And I don't even know if I want to be with someone else. I like being a wife, but you know, I'd much rather have peace than be a wife. You don't divorce in God's eyes. You don't know God. Whether we get legally divorced or not, we're still married. You know, God is a little more complicated. God stands. We'll still be together. You and I do not serve the same God, buddy. That has been made clear just by that statement. That's not correct. That's what? I said that's not correct. I disagree. Okay. That's just a tactic of control. I think that's in everybody's best interest that we try to work it out. Is it really? Because it's not in everybody's best interest. I think so. I think it's the only way Pearson gets to have two parents. So I don't know about that. I'm sure you would move on. You're just trying to control me. My mind is made up. My mind has been made up since before we separated, or when we separated. My mind's been made up. Yeah, sure. In my eyes, there is no such thing as divorce under God. But that is correct when you say that is in your own eyes, because that is not what God says. That is not. I've seen how this is going to go. Yeah, he says that divorce is done and acceptable when there's been infidelity. So and abuse. And abuse. Divorce or not. And abuse. You have to show me the scripture that says that. Oh, I will. I'll find it because I have read it before. All right. Well, I've seen a bunch of people look for it. Oh, a bunch of people? That's just so cute, Brian. That's so cute. And you know what? God is a lot more mysterious than you think. All right. Well, you know, he has good for me and for Pearson. You know who I am. I disagree with you. You know who I am. You want to go through with this? So be it. But you're going to make my life hell, is what you're saying. That's not what I said. I mean, my opinion from the beginning, Tony. I mean, you cannot control me. You can, no, I didn't. No. What? You can't control everything about me, Brian. If we ever separate, you can't just dictate me anymore. You're right. So if you want to go and try to have another baby or be with another man, that's your choice. I'm going to respond how I need to respond. And you've known from before we got married what my response to you is. So I love you, and I'm not going to let you have sex with another man or bring another man into my son's life. You don't want to talk to me. You don't want to try to build things with me. That's your right. That's your right. I will fight with the court for my time with my child. I just placed the gravity of things wasn't quite what it was. So, fine. I'm bad for you. That's how you honest to God feel. That's what's in your heart. That it should not be. That's working no matter what I do. That's your right.
But I have my own rights, my own opinions, and I have my own solutions. So, I love you. You never say I didn't love you. Whether I portray that or not, I love you. I hate that this is what makes it come here, but it's where we're at. So, there's not much I can do about it. I can't control you and I can't make the decisions for you. You do what you want to do. Oh, yeah. I wanted things to work between us, and I have put my best foot forward in that. I will continue to put my best foot forward in here. So, and you're right, you don't trust me. And frankly, I don't quite trust you either. So, maybe you're right in the grand scheme of things. Maybe it's just not meant to be. I thought it was what was best for me and you. I still think it's what's best for me and you. So, but if you're going to trust me with anything, you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be a wife. Try me. I love you, but I'm not just gonna move on and okay, my wife's having sex with somebody else and you feel right about it. Okay, my wife's trying to have a baby with somebody else. Okay, my wife's got some other man in my son's life. So, okay, record and do whatever you want to do with that information. I'm sure you can record it the whole time anyway. No. I know you're recording me what you were when you were there, so. Yeah, well, nobody would have believed me. Uh, You know what it boils down to. That's all I'm going to say about it. If I can't be with you and we can't be together and we can't be a family without it, go ahead and try it on fun. Go ahead and bring somebody else in my son's life. It ain't gonna last long. I want it to be your one and only. I want it to be your first and your last. And I still want it. You want some more cheese? You want some more pepperonis and cheese? Okay. Hey, be careful. Give me my remotes. Thank you. Thanks, bud. So as far as I see it, there's two options. Either we both stay single, we get this divorce, we both stay single for the next 16 years until he's an adult. Or we're worried now. His options for his direction. Okay, well, I'm gonna get off the phone with you because I got more stuff to do tonight. I know it doesn't mean anything to you. My level of care has no bearing on anything. So is that what you're telling me? I'm telling you, I don't want to talk to you anymore. You're freaking me out. You just want to fight it out in court? I mean, I think it's really funny that you've been all, I love you and I'd do anything for you and flip on a dime. No, I do love you and I would do anything for you. I do. The only thing I'm not willing to do is like watch you go home with another man. Because now we're affecting my son in that situation. Just like I'm sure you wouldn't want me to move some bimbo in with me and have Pearson start calling her mommy. I guarantee you that destroy you. You did not see it from my perspective. That's because you made it with a bimbo. Okay. So maybe you know what it is from the beginning. do what you want to do. But keep that in mind. If you are telling me leave you alone 110%, you don't want to interact with me ever again, that's your life. I'll respect it. And I will fight you tooth and nail in court about Pearson. So keep in mind, I have told you the situation from before we got married.
Brian, you're making me want to vomit. So I'm gonna get off of the phone.
I'm making you want to what?
Vomit to throw up. Spew. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
That's fine. And I'm okay with that. We both know how things lie. If you don't love me and that's where your honest heart is, I won't call you no more. I won't interact with you at all anymore. That's what you want?
I just want to get off the phone with you right now. Because you're scaring me.
Good luck with things, Tony.
Ms. Grammond, is that a fair and accurate depiction of a conversation you had with Mr. Grammond? And that took place after our last court hearing, is that correct?
Yes.
When he says that was he has a response to cheating, he has my own solutions, we can't be together, you know, it ain't gonna last long. How did you take those comments by him?
Well, they're threats. He's threatening to kill me. And like I said in the recording, it's not in my plans to move on to another man.
Pardon?
Objection.
For what?
Speculation. She's saying that he was threatening him. There was no direct threat there. So at this point, she's speculating.
Overruled, she's entitled to interpret, and this all goes to the statements that were made during the conversation and what impact they had upon her. It requires her to interpret what he's saying and to determine in her own mind, does it require some speculation? Sure, but it also goes to how those statements, what impact they had on her. So overrule the objection.
Describe to the court how fearful you are of being in proximity with him.
Every day, I can't even describe how I feel. I just live in terror.
Are you familiar that he's changed locations from the last court hearing?
Yes.
And where does he live now?
The KOA campsite off of.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the picture that we received in discovery from he and his lawyer?
As far as I know, yes.
Yeah. And as far as you know, he's living in a camper at the KOA now instead of at that other place?
Yes.
Okay. What are you asking the judge to do today as far as how to interact with Mr. Grammond in the situation with visitation?
Well, I personally would not like to have to interact with him anymore because, well, that door was open because of FaceTimes with Pearson. I don't trust Brian and Pearson being alone together at all. There's been supervised visitations. They've been going okay. I guess just keep it at that. I really don't know what else to do with that.
And you do have a second meeting appointment with Dr. Berryman then tomorrow, correct?
Yes, I do.
And she hasn't given you any time frame as to when this is going to end, has she?
No, she is not.
That's all I had to.
Mrs. Grammond, when was that, the second recording, the longer one, when was that taken? Do you know?
I don't know the exact date.
Isn't it true that that's part of a longer conversation?
But yes, it sparked from, yes.
It was part of a longer conversation, but you left out that part when you told him that he's not able to fulfill the role of a father. You told him that, correct?
What did I tell him?
That he was not able to fulfill the role of a father. Did you tell him that? Yes or no?
No.
You didn't tell him that. Okay, you didn't tell him that any man would be better.
No, because
Okay.
I'm not with another man. I really don't want to be
Okay,
with
but
another
you
man.
testify that, yes or no? You testify that that was a part of a longer conversation. So we don't know the context of this recording because you did not provide the court the whole conversation. Is that correct?
That is all that I
Yes
have
or no,
recorded.
ma'am? Yes or no, ma'am? Is that correct? You did not
Mr.
provide.
Holly, hold on a second, Ms. Henderson, Mr. Holly.
Judge, I'd object. We're getting argumentative. She should be allowed to, even if it is a yes or no answer, explain the answer to her question.
Judge, I'm simply asking if this was part of a conversation.
Sustain the objection, allow her to answer the question, but first you must answer yes or no. In other words, if it was part of a longer conversation, whatever she asks you, if it's a yes or no answer, answer yes or no, and then you will be allowed to explain.
Okay. Can you repeat it?
I'm moving on. Now, you said you were fearful. You never called the police, yes or no?
No, I have not.
You did not take any order protection against your husband.
No, but I would like one.
And you would, in the past weeks here, after we were here for that 2.5 days of hearing, you were calling him, is that right?
Yes, for FaceTime videos.
Even just for FaceTime videos?
No, there were also other times where we would call.
Where you would facilitate the call, is that right?
Yes.
I have all the recordings here. Do you want me to go over with you? All your phone calls where you initiated the call, you want me to go over them?
Whatever
Will
you'd
you?
like to do.
Okay, so November the 25th, this is an incoming call and you talked for 50 minutes. Do you recall that?
I guess.
You initiated that,
Yes.
obviously.
Mhm.
And you have another one here the following day, 2 hours and 12 minutes, correct?
Yes.
Now, I can't remember did you give me the date of that recording, that second recording that was the longer recording?
I do believe so. I think they've both been dated. I just can't remember off the top of my head.
Was it in November? Was it in December?
Which one?
The longer recording, the second one that was played,
That was the first,
the 10-minute conversation.
November? I don't know. It was either November or December. They're very close in proximity.
Okay, after that, you still proceeded to make phone calls, conversation with him, is that right?
I know I called him once about insurance, but we've
Okay,
been having to do the FaceTime videos.
you had a conversation with him in December even. I have one here for 20 minutes. And that was after you alleged that you were very fearful, is that right?
I am fearful, yes.
Okay. You could have just hung up on him, but you stayed in the phone call, is that right?
No, because he would call you and say she's taken away time from my child.
But you were talking to him. You were not allowing him to just talk to the child. You were welcoming the conversation, correct?
Yes, because
You were
he
responding
kept
to him.
claiming that I have changed in the goodness out of my heart, wanted to believe that. And I wanted to give him another chance if there was any decency left in him. And he just proved, he puts on many masks.
How are you giving him another chance when you tell him he could never fulfill the role of a father? Is that giving another chance?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Because
I
he
mean,
needed
it
to
was
prove
never
to me
not an
that he's a
indication there,
changed
ma'am.
man.
I'm gonna ask the question, so just let me finish the question.
Judge, if I may, she was trying to answer the question.
There was no question there, Your Honor.
Well, she was, I think, supplementing her answer, but let's wait for a question to be asked. If your lawyer can bring out anything else, if on the redirect.
I'm sorry.
Is there any indication there that he was forcing you to answer his questions there?
It's very persuasive, and he knows how to get into my mind.
But you could have just hang up, right?
He would keep calling.
Or you could just not take the call, correct?
I guess. It would be nice, but
But you love these kinds of conversation, is that right?
I love what?
Because you can get out of him these kinds of recording.
No. He hurts my mind every time he speaks
Ma'am, I
with
don't have
me.
a question yet.
Okay.
You told him you are not a father. Is that correct? Did
No,
you
I
hear
didn't.
that?
No, I didn't
You
say
see,
he's
we
not a
can play it
father.
again, ma'am. You said it. I wrote it down. You said
Okay.
you are not a father.
That he was not acting like a father when we were together. He spent like no time
Ma'am,
with
your
Pearson.
words were you
Mhm.
are
Ms.
not a
Hendrickson, let her
father.
finish her answer before you start asking the next
Can I
question.
just rephrase, Your Honor? I'll just withdraw that. How would you feel if he tells you you are not a mother?
He does tell me that. He's told me worse things than that on a daily basis when we were together.
So do you believe that you need a parenting plan to allow Mr. Graham to have a Father's Day visitation with Pearson?
Yes, because we didn't have one set yet. We were still in the works.
I
with
know that. I'm just
everything.
asking, you believe that you need to have a parenting plan in order for you to allow or to give him some time on Father's Day? That's your position.
Yes, because he was not safe whenever we left. We left out of a dangerous situation with him.
You left, he handed you your gun on the day that you left, correct?
One of them.
But he did.
I'm gonna object to this. This is all stuff that you heard before we had that last hearing. We went round and round. We went 3 days arguing about this stuff, and this was all before that last hearing. I thought today were for the review, see how things have been going.
But I'm entitled, Your Honor, to rebut her statement that goes to her credibility. In our last hearing, she confirmed that my client handed her gun on the day that she left, and now she's saying she was living in fear on that day. So I feel like I'm entitled to that.
You said that he gave her one of the guns. Is
Yes,
her answer?
one of her guns, yes.
Question's been asked and answered. I don't know that it has a lot of relevance to the issue today, but it does seem like we're re-plowing the same ground we've been over before. Move along.
Yes, Your Honor. You lied to him when he asked you if you were recording him, correct?
He asked me, have you been recording the whole
You need to answer the
time?
question. This is an example. She asked you,
Okay.
did you lie to him? So your answer would be yes or no, and then you can explain it.
Not exactly, because
Okay.
of how he worded it, no.
He asked you if you were recording him and you said no.
He
You
asked
recall
me if
that?
I was recording the whole time, and I said no.
Okay.
I was not recording the whole time.
And he told you at the very end, he said, I'm not going to interact with you anymore. You recall that?
Yes, but he still does.
Have you been to that COA where he is now residing?
Okay, no.
Previously, you've never been to that
No,
place?
No, I could see it from the interstate, but I have not entered into it, no.
And did you know that families live there with children?
I'm sure some do, yes.
It's a standard place where people put their camper in as long as it's livable.
Yes,
Did
anybody
you know
can do
that?
that, yes.
Nothing further.
Ms. Smith, do you have questions?
I'm a little confused. Were the recordings made after the FaceTime visit with Pearson?
These are during the FaceTime visits,
They were during the FaceTime visit.
yes.
So Pearson was present. Well, you could hear him.
Yeah.
And, I mean, had he talked with Pearson beforehand?
Yes, but he would always try to get me to start talking with him, lead it into just talking with me. He even asked Pearson about me instead of just talking to Pearson.
So did Pearson hear these conversations?
I'm sure he did. I mean, as much as a 2-year-old is going to listen, but he's watching TV and playing. And
I have no more questions.
Redirect?
Ms. Henderson asked you about an order of protection. You asked me to inquire about it. You inquired with me about an order of protection based on this, didn't you?
yes, I did.
What was my response?
I didn't get a response from you.
And again, these were during the FaceTime videos. You can hear Pearson. Is that the child in the background? Is that Pearson?
Yes, and the TV also.
And Mr. Grammond could hang up on you as well, correct?
Yes, he
Ms.
can.
Henderson said, why didn't you hang up? But, you know, there was nothing forcing him to stay on the phone either, was it?
Mm-mm.
And she asked you about the KOA campground. Have you looked at what concerns do you have about the KOA campground?
Well, just about anybody can go into those places like pedophiles. What's going to stop a pedophile from parking a camper there? That's kind of just, you never know who your neighbors are, and they're constantly changing.
Has that concerned you enough to look that up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how to. It's just a great fear of mine.
That's all I have.
Very short. Did you know that they do background checks before you can even be eligible to live there in that campground?
Yes, I do.
And so, according to you, it's an unsafe place to live, even though you got many children living there, correct?
It can't be, yes.
That's all.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Grammond. You may have a seat.
Thank you.
Mr. Hawley, you have any other proof?
I do not, Judge.
Ms. Hendrickson, do you have any proof you wish to offer?
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to call my client.
Grammond, if you'll come up, please. Grammond, if you want to have a seat, well, that's fine. You're fine where you are. Mr. Grammond, come up. Raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Swear.
Mr. Grammond, the first recording, that was the shorter version, how did that come about? Do you recall when that was?
We were talking pretty frequently at the time. It was prior to a visit with my son. I believe I was actually driving to the visit with Pearson. Things were going pretty well between us at the time, and then out of nowhere, she decided to tell me how I've never been nothing but a baby daddy to Pearson. I've never been a husband to her. That'd be the easiest thing in the world to find a new man to raise him as a father, because I'd never fulfilled that role, that anybody possible would be better than me. Anybody could provide better for them than I could.
How did that make you feel?
Angry and upset. I've modified my entire life over and over again to try to show that I can do whatever I need to do for Pearson, whether it was moving to the cabin and then concerns being raised about that, to moving into the camper and moving closer to Pearson, to concerns being raised about that now.
Did you go through a background check before you were eligible to live there in that KOA?
Yes, I did. Everybody in the long-term section of the campground has to undergo background checks.
Okay. That first recording, who initiated that call? Do you remember?
It could have been either one of us. There was probably a few hours of conversation that day. That exact call, I'm not sure who the initiator was.
Okay. That second phone call, the longer version, the 10 minutes, do you know who initiated that call?
I believe it would have been Tony. It was after a conversation with my son, where she ended up taking the phone from him and interacting with me, and once again trying to push some buttons, which we don't get to hear, to get a rise out of me, and I fed right into it.
After those two phone calls, did you have any more phone call conversations with her outside of the FaceTime?
She's made a couple attempts to interact with me. One while I was talking to Pearson, which I responded directly with a text message to her. I hung up the phone and told her, do not try to interact with me when I'm interacting with my son. This is me and his time. There's nothing for me and you to talk about anymore. That second phone call, I kind of seen as closure for myself as far as me and her go. And then the next morning, I believe after I sent that text to her, she reached out to me early in the mid-morning, wanting to talk to me. And I told her that we are not talking under no circumstance. There's nothing to talk about anymore. And she tried to turn it into, well, I also have a question about insurance. I sent her a copy of the iInsurance phone number, and that was it. I ended the phone call.
Okay.
It lasted about a minute before I hung up.
Now, do you recall when we were last here, we basically agreed that the communications will be just via text message
I
between
do.
you and her? But even then, you both were calling each other. Is that correct?
Yes, less than before that was put into place, but
Who was initiating the phone calls more than the other?
she would have been initiating the majority of the phone calls.
Okay. Now you understand, and you heard me earlier, we were requesting the judge to basically pronounce you divorced if you all agree that there are grounds here. You understand that both of you are free to see each other, correct?
Can you read?
I'm sorry, both of you at that point, y'all can do whatever y'all want, but are you conceding that this marriage is over, it's
Judge, I'm going
done?
to object to the leading and the relevance. We're not in a position to talk about divorce today.
Sustained?
Your home in KOA, is it suitable for your child?
Most certainly. When I moved into the camper, it was something that I talked with Tony previously about. Tony has seen videos from being on FaceTime with me of me showing her Pearson's room and has agreed that she likes it. She has raised concerns about the people that could be around, but I've gone through a background check. I'm making the best choices I can. I had the cabin on the lake, and that was a problem. Now this is a problem. I'm running out of options here.
Okay. Is it more economical as far as living situation for you?
Yeah, it's kind of one of the only options left with how bad my credit has become. Any apartment I've tried to get into, they want to run a credit check, and I fail every one of those. So, this was the most stable place I could be besides the lake, and I left the lake solely because issues were raised, and I was trying to bring her some comfort in the fact that if that's such a problem, I can try to do something different.
How are the visits going now with Pearson?
Not frequent enough, but they go very well. I know we both look forward to him all week long. He's constantly telling me on the video chats or in person that he misses me and he loves me, and it's hard not seeing him as much as I feel like I should be seeing him. But the visits are great up until the last few minutes when it's time to go. and it's time to start cleaning up, and then you see a whole different side of him because he doesn't want it to be over.
Are you asking the judge to allow you to have some sort of unsupervised visitation at this point?
Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal. I mean, as it stands right now, I feel like I don't get time to be a father. I get to change him, I get to feed him when I'm on visits, but I mean, I don't get to put him down for a nap. I don't get to put him to bed at the end of the night. Like, I'm not necessarily getting to be a father as much as I'm getting to be a playmate.
And you're still continuing to see your therapist, is that correct?
Yeah, there was a period of time with switching job sites and being farther away during the workday that I had stopped seeing Janet Weismark. But after the final interactions with Tony, I decided that there's definitely some more things to work through. So we're
And are you still providing financial support?
to the best of my ability currently, with moving and everything and terminating the other lease. I mean, it was quite a financial burden, but I thought it was what I had to do to show everybody that, like, well, if this is a problem, I can do something differently.
And then when is your next appointment with Dr. Berryman?
Tomorrow, and my next appointment with Wisemark is next Wednesday.
That's all, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Graham, you failed your drug test, the nail follicle, nail bed test, for cannabis. You remember that?
I do.
And you have a 1.28 was what you had as far as your screening goes. Do you remember that?
In a toenail test, yes.
Yeah, and the cutoff was a .05 that was listed on the test. Did you see that?
I don't have the test in front of me, but from what I recall, it's a .99.
So where was the .99 on that test? Do you remember where it was on that sheet at all?
Next to the number 1.28.
All right, so if the judge is looking at it and it says .99 and .05, whatever that says, that's what it would be, correct?
Yeah, I remember that pretty well.
And if it says .05, can we agree that that's a long way away from 1.28?
I would disagree with that.
Are you vaping at the church during your visitations?
No.
So if mom comes in here and says she's seen that, she's not being truthful.
She would be lying.
All right. You knew you were being recorded when you were saying these things to her? Was that what I gathered from your direct with your lawyer?
I didn't know, I assumed.
You said that you were like in a long-term KOA?
Yeah, I'm in the long-term section.
How big a lease did you sign?
Till 11/25 of 24.
And then short-term, where are those folks at?
At the entrance.
Okay, so what are you about? How far away are you from the short-term people?
Couple thousand feet.
Okay. And you said that you had failed a credit check?
When I was applying new apartments priorly, yes, I failed credit checks.
You make good money, correct?
I make okay money.
How much was your annual that we calculated on your child support? 50, 60, somewhere in that ballpark?
Probably in the high 40s, 50s. I'm not exactly sure.
When's the last time you paid child support?
A couple days ago, I sent Tony money.
How much did you send her?
I'm not sure. I think $225.
Before that, when did you send her any child support?
About 3 weeks before that.
And how much did you send her there?
I think $300.
Okay, and you see what your obligation is in this order, correct?
As of a couple days ago.
Nothing further.
Now, I noticed from the conversations, the recorded conversations, you had some pretty strong language for your wife. When you despise her, she's a horrible woman, she'll suffer for the rest of her life, she's a piece of shit. You did, correct?
Yes, I used some strong language.
And you used some curse words too, correct? Like you said, fuck,
Yeah,
several
that is
times.
correct.
And your child was present, correct?
In the recording, you can hear my child come in to the room from the other room. And in a phone conversation, I mean, if it's going that way, it ought to not be on speakerphone, which I would assume it wasn't. He shouldn't have been able to overhear any of that. And you also do not hear what was said to me prior to that.
You, can you understand why your wife might be afraid of you?
In a way, I can see why she wouldn't want to be around me, and I don't want to be around her likewise. Although if somebody's truly afraid of you, I don't think they would intentionally seek a rise out of that person.
I have no more questions.
You said a couple of things in your recording that I want to ask you about. One of them is that you made reference to something about the situation before we got married. You remember saying that?
I did.
What were you talking about there?
Well, when we got married, before we got married, we sat down and we had some pretty lengthy conversations about how things would go if they hit their worst, which is pretty much where we're at now. And we had agreed that if things did ever go wrong after we had a child, that we would not be malicious in taking care of that child towards the other person. We would not try to take the child away from the other person, that we wouldn't make our problems for the child.
All right. And then the second thing is that you told her that basically the way things would go in the future was that you two could stay together or you could both stay single for the next 15 years. I assume that had to do with your child until the child turned 18.
That is correct.
You're not going to allow another man in your child's life. Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry.
In the recording, you said that you and your wife would either stay together or that you would be single and apart, but neither of you could stay unmarried, in other words, for until 15 years until your child turned 18.
That was the arrangement we had before we got married if things ever went bad after having children.
And so you were basically telling her that, if I understood you, that you were not going to allow another man to come into your child's life.
It would be against my wishes. I mean, in the end of the day, she can do whatever she wants to do, but I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't share with that person all the chaos and the hell that she'd put me and Pearson through and try to get that person to walk away from her.
You understand that you no longer are going to control anything about her from this point forward.
I'm aware of that.
And while you will have input regarding your son, that you're not going to be able to tell her what she can and can't do, period. Whatever your relationship has been while you two were together, then you're not going to be able to do that. You can't control her, you can't threaten her, you can't do any of those things. You understand that?
I'm aware.
All right, step down. We'll stand in recess for about 5 minutes.
All rise.
All right. Mr. Holly, do you have any other proof? Senator, any other proof? Ms. Smith, do you have any witnesses you wish to call? I'll be glad to hear you in argument. Mr. Holly will go first.
Judge, well, the tapes speak for themselves. That's why I brought them. This is a scary situation. I mean, you listen to those tapes, to me, there's a level of concern here, and that's why I wanted you to hear these tapes. He failed his drug test. When he said it here before and said he didn't do marijuana, he would pass it, and he welcomed the drug test. I went back and listened to what he said. The supervisors are at Nerves End when they're doing this supervision. We're requesting that at the very least, other than just, hey, we're here, this is the time, keep the discussion at a absolute only about what we're doing as far as times and the kid and that kind of thing.
Conversations with who?
Her mother, Mr. Gremmon and her mother, or the pastor, or whoever is supervising with the child, asked that there be no vaping during the visitations. And, again, that the parties, we'll get it in the order, communicate about the child and the visitations and, leave the other dialogue off. I think that's the best thing we could do at this point. The KOA campground, always a scary place to go do visitations. The court's well aware of that. I don't have to get into all of this. It's not an appropriate place for a child to be, for any length of time. So we're just asking maybe for the status quo to continue. Let's get Dr. Berryman's stuff back and see what she says. I'd like to have permission to send Dr. Berryman these tapes and whatnot for her consideration as well. Thank you, Judge.
Hendrickson?
Your Honor, there is no proof about the vaping situation, and so I don't know where that's coming from. Again, my client testified that he did use marijuana and he put a date on it. It was May of this year. And so that was to be expected that he would have negligible positive result, which he followed with a hair follicle test that proved to be negative. The KOA, there are children who live there with their families. Just because that's the only thing they can afford doesn't mean that a parent cannot have visitations there with their children. Again, we are asking that it doesn't look like mother is stipulating to there are grounds for divorce, but we are asking, Your Honor, if you would just grant her the divorce and find my client at fault. My client is fine with that. Declare them to be divorced. That would alleviate some of these discussions. My client will not enter into those discussions anymore. He is wanting to abide by just text only between them, no more phone calls. And so at this point, we are asking for unsupervised visitations, however graduated they may be. I understand that my client has not been with the child for a longer period of time, so it would need to be a gradual situation. Thank you, Your Honor.
Before Ms. Smith gets up here, Mr. Holly, she's asking for me to grant your client a divorce.
I'm not in a position to agree to that, Judge.
You're not in a position of what?
I'm not in a position to agree to that with her at this point, Judge. We haven't discussed it, and
That she doesn't want a divorce then?
well, we filed for divorce, and we have filed for divorce. So obviously we're going down that track. So
And she wants a divorce or doesn't want a divorce?
at some point we're going to get a divorce, I would
At some
assume, Judge,
point.
but we're not in a position to agree to a divorce today.
I'm not sure I understand the logic of that, but so be it. Ms. Smith?
Again, Judge, if the court wants to take a break, I can go outside and talk to her, but I haven't even discussed it with her. And I'm having to wear a mask today to talk about all of these things, and
All right.
I just need some time.
Ms. Smith?
Well, at this point, I would oppose unsupervised visits. The cursing, calling his wife names, I think until we get Dr. Berryman's report, and he says he's seeing Ms. Wisemark. We probably need a report from her. He is angry, violent, and I would be afraid of the things he would say to the child if he was unsupervised. If he says these things knowing people are listening, what would he say to this child if he had him alone without anyone supervising the visits? One of the things I noticed is the difference in the recordings on the part of wife. I mean, the first recording, she kind of has some spunk. The second one, she was pretty beat down. I would not like to see that happen to Pearson.
This is here for a review and a review of the situation. Previously, the court heard recordings involving these parties, and That caused this court to have some concerns, and having observed the parties during their testimony today, I basically find that those concerns that I had at the original hearing have simply been confirmed and reaffirmed today. The recordings today that I heard during the hearing clearly affirmed that Mr. Graman is an individual who believes that he should be in control of the situation. He believes that he should be the one to call the shots, and he tries to manipulate the situation so that he can control his wife. And he does so by threatening her with a lot of different things. That will stop today, because from this point forward, there will be no direct communication between them whatsoever. But I'm putting you under an order as well, Ms. Graman. He says you've called him, and you can't have it both ways. If you don't want to have contact with him and you want to be apart from him and you want to be divorced from him, albeit I could grant you a divorce today, but so be it. I will leave you married, but you are not going to be allowed to have direct contact. You can't pick up the phone and call him. You have a question, if it's about insurance or whatever, you call your lawyer, and he can call his lawyer, and they can work it out. But the reason I'm doing that is because he says you initiated and then you push his buttons. I didn't hear any buttons being pushed, but apparently his buttons are fairly large and easy to reach. So as a result of that, we're not going to have you call him for any reason. But he's not going to be allowed to have direct communication with you at all. I considered, Mr. Graman, completely doing away with these FaceTime videos after listening to those recordings, because it's just an opportunity for you to try to engage her in an argument or whatever. And you may say, you may have all sorts of excuses, and I realize that you try to present yourself in a different light when you're here in court. But when this last interchange that you and I had, basically, and I asked you about the idea that you thought your options for you and your wife were to either stay together or stay single for the next 15 years, and whether or not you were going to be okay with her seeing someone else. Basically, if I understood you to say that you were going to make sure that if she did date somebody, that he knew what he was getting into, and that you were going to try to convince him, to stay away from her. And that is not going to happen. I'm just telling you, you have lost the control over your wife, period. And whether or not you have contact with your son, your child, will depend on how you behave and how you conduct yourself from this point forward. I am not going to alter the supervised visitation schedule that we presently have in place until I see Dr. Berryman's report. I ordered a psychological evaluation of both of these parties because of the issues that I saw and the concerns that I had. Those have simply been strengthened. And as a result of what I heard today, I have even more concerns about whether Mr. Graman is going to be able to follow a court order regarding a visitation and custody of this child without creating havoc in both his ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife and the child's lives. So I want to see what the psychological report is. And yes, those recordings that were played today and the original recordings need to be sent to Dr. Berryman. And if necessary, they need to come from the guardian ad litem so that the guardian ad litem can be the one to supply that information. Both sides can then explain to Dr. Berryman what they take from that. If that's what they choose, it'll be up to her to do that. But until we have a psychological evaluation report from Dr. Berryman or whoever she might send for any sort of testing, it is my opinion there should be no changes, with the exception of the fact that during the supervised visitation, Mr. Graman will speak to the people when he comes in, and he will not speak to them beyond that. He will spend his time talking to his child, not seating with the people who are there for the visitation. He can have a conversation regarding any issues, if the child's eaten, all of those normal conversations, but he cannot go beyond that and have a conversation about eating issues in this case. He will be allowed to continue the FaceTime calls, but when he does, you put the child in front of the camera and you walk away. And if the child stays there, that's fine. If the child doesn't stay there, then you're not obligated to round the child up, because that simply gives another opportunity for him to do it. Talk to your child, explain to the child this is a visit with dad, and encourage the child to stay there, and then you walk away. Doesn't mean you have to leave the room, but you have to walk away. You don't stand there and engage with him. There's not going to be any more of this. Any FaceTime can be recorded by either party. If you wish to do so, you can record it so that either video recorded or audio recorded so that for your protection about what's being said and what's being done. That's the same thing with Mr. Granman. He can record anything that he wants to do. Court has some concerns about where he's living in the KOA campground. I'm familiar with it. Not sure that that's a logical place to take a 2-year-old child, but I'm open to being shown more proof about that at a later hearing when we get to that point. I want to make it clear that under the law, I don't care what your agreement was when you and she got married, Mr. Gramman, under the laws of the state of Tennessee that I'm required to enforce, this matter is now before this court and under the jurisdiction of me and the other judges that hear these cases. And as a result of that, we're going to be the ones who have to make those decisions. So I want you to see your son. I want this to move quickly and productively towards you having, a good visitation, an open and unsupervised visitation. But it requires you both to cooperate. And that means you leave her alone. You don't threaten her. You don't have anything to do with that. And I want this order to reflect that there will be no threats. And I've already said that neither party will intimidate, threaten, or be violent towards the other party. But I want to include in this new order that neither party will harass or argue with the other party as well. Let's just try to cut all of that out. And then we'll see where we are after we get Dr. Berryman's report. In the meantime, everything remains the same. He has a child support order that's down according to this order that was entered and signed by me today from the prior hearing. We'll see how that goes. And it's my hope that perhaps there'll be some changes made in the behavior of both of these parties by isolating them from each other. But you can't call him and initiate a conversation. You can't call her, Mr. Gramman, and initiate a conversation. We're going to cut you off from each other and allow you to instead just focus on your son and allow you to have that contact. That FaceTime will continue, the visitation will continue. I'm not stopping that, but I want to make it about the child and not about what's going on between the two of you. That's the judgment of the court in this case. Thank you.
Since the holidays coming up, is there any way that you would include some type of?
He needs to see the child on Christmas Day. I don't know what you two can arrange, but I want to see, you can step out in the hall, the lawyers can, and see if you can arrange to have a visitation worked out for sometime during the Christmas holidays.